We live.
On a suddenly not so casual 7-point sharp Sunday, it is NFL Divisional Weekend Sunday morning. It is Shark and Water Station 9, where it's a lifestyle. Ride the wave or get out of the water. It is the Shark. It is the Gun. It is the Odds Fellow. Guns picks. What's going on this morning, my brother?
Man, you know what? This is going to be my Jordan flu game from the 90s going up against the Utah Jazz in, like, what is it, Game 5, Game 6? Feeling a little under the weather. It ain't hangover, boys, but we'll see. I'm going to get through this game, and I'm going to give you the best picks as we went 2-0 with the sweep yesterday, and I'm going to continue this hot streak as we are 6-2. If you've been following my picks in the playoffs, Odds Fellow, your Cowboys are playing today. How you feeling?
I'm glad they moved this game up so I'm not sweating it all evening. I'm glad it's not another Monday night. And I will say I am very, very, very due. So look out.
Absolutely. And centering my thoughts, I just cracked a Bud Light. Cheers up, fears down, people. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning into our show. I know everybody's kind of hanging out this morning. Let's take a sip. Let's talk some NFL football. The Gun is not feeling great, but his picks are feeling fucking amazing. And we're not waiting around. We're going Orchard Park, New York. We're going big time football. Josh Allen, Campaign 5, a team that has been so unbelievably pedestrian against the spread, so lackluster, and I will say so unprofessional. Just hanging out more or less. And that's a crazy thing to say about a team that has so much talent. This team doesn't seem to take the game seriously. I never thought I would say this, but I really think this team needs a quality check. And look no further than the last team that went to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Guns picks, the home team turning up, the first official of the broadcast.
Listen, I know the Bills didn't really play well last week. But they're playing a divisional opponent for the third time, so they've kind of already seen each other's playbooks a lot. So take that with a grain of salt. But moving on to this game, they're playing in Orchard Park. It's a home game. This was the game that was supposed to happen in Week 17, but we know that this is the Devlin Hamlin injury game, so there could be a little bit of motivational factor going against Cincinnati here. But look where Cincinnati's coming from here, folks. Cincinnati's coming off a 24-17 win over Baltimore, despite having a minus 130 net yard average. Now, if you know that game, if you watch that game, but the Ravens were driving down the field. They got it to the 1, and then the play calling got egregious on that 3rd and goal. They a backup quarterback tried to lean the ball in to get that 6 and take the lead. And guess what happened? Fumble, and they ran it back. So it had nothing to do with the Cincinnati offense, more so just bad mistakes on Baltimore's side of the ball. Now you have Buffalo coming off a win, a hard-earned win, 34-31. A real long game, too. They had plus 192 net yard average for the game. But here's the problem here, folks. They're going to have to protect Josh Allen in this game. He was sacked 7 times in that game. So I was kind of curious why when you see the net yards over 100, this is usually a 2-score type of game. But that was probably the factor in there, plus a couple turnovers as well. But look at Cincinnati. They're going to be missing 3 key starters on the offensive line. Now, if you know anything about Cincinnati from the previous year, they've done a huge improvement of making that line better. But they've lost 3 starters since Christmas. So they lost one last week. They lost one on January 1st, and they lost one on Christmas Eve. So without those players and the fill-ins there, you're almost reverting back to what the Cincinnati offensive line was last year, which is one of the worst in the NFL. While Cincinnati's offense has really struggled as well, and it really shows too. You actually look at the numbers. This team can't get over 300 yards of total offense. I know, and they're going against the Buffalo Bills here that are ranked 11th in DVOA rushing offense and 2nd in DVOA against the pass and 2nd overall in the NFL. So this is going to be a very tough Bills defense that's going to be really pumped up for this game. I don't think they played their best game. I think it might have been a little bit of a look ahead situation, thinking that we're just going to, stomp Miami. Didn't happen that way. I liked the Bills. I actually got the line at -4.5, but don't fret. I know the line is at -6. As long as it stays under that 7, it's still a good number in my opinion. But my official play is going to be Buffalo -4.5, and that's a 3-unit play for me, boys.
Yeah, and you guys saw what the gun did yesterday with a 3-unit special, a home favorite on the same level, generally speaking, with the Philadelphia Eagles. So take notice. And Anthony Latino taking notice as well. An alignment play, I believe.
Yeah, and I didn't even get it early, so you can roll with me in the 6, and we'll sweat that together, and hopefully we don't have to worry about it. But it's really interesting, right? The game that never was, that Week 17 matchup that Guns alluded to. It's so interesting. Does Buffalo and Josh Allen finally get it together, or does Burrow and Cincinnati make up for all the slights coming their way yet again in back-to-back seasons? I mean, Burrow and that Bengals team deserves a ton of credit, but here, even if this is a public narrative, I just think it's too much against maybe the team of destiny that plays up there in Orchard Park, because the offensive line injuries are a big deal. As Guns alluded to, 3 starters now out. So it's Jonah Williams, Lyle Collins, and Alex Kappa. Those 3 starters and some of the big investments for them in the offseason. But that's not the only piece of the puzzle here, right? Maybe you look at the line a little bit. I think what I originally thought, because a lot of people realized when that game was stopped, the Bengals were up and I believe driving. So the live lines were starting to swing a little bit. And at some points during the week, that game was as low as, a pick on -1. It was kind of moving all over the place. I think Buffalo opened as a -1.5 favorite in that game. They closed as a 2.5 favorite. So coming home now, you get that line where it should be, and now steaming up towards that 6 number. There's a key matchup here that I think matters, advanced stats wise, and that's the most lopsided matchup between these teams from a DVOA perspective is the Buffalo passing attack, second DVOA wise against the Cincinnati passing defense, which is 12th. And that's something I think they can exploit. They have to get a little bit better on third down conversion percentage, which sits at 50.72% overall for the Bills, is a little bit worse at home. But I do think they cleaned some of that stuff up today. And I love that they've gotten some of the duds out of the way. And Shark's going to get into this as some closing comments. They've just looked lackluster, right? At times, they haven't been able to put it all together. And I think these guys know that they have to do that today. The one downside, I always like to say it, there's always cons. There's always real stuff that we want to give you guys on the other side of the coin here, is the defensive pressure rate, which I think is a problem for Buffalo, has gotten way worse since Von Miller got hurt. I think you insert Von Miller into this lineup, I'd be curious to see what the line would be because of what that defense could do. They've dropped to 24th in pressure rate, which forces them to blitz a little bit more. So, we'll see how Burrow does against that. Hopefully that blitz factor and that pressure factor that they are lacking with Von Miller can get a little bit neutralized by some of those Bengals offensive line issues like we mentioned. So give me the 6. I lean under in this game too. That's not necessarily a weather thing. You may hear snow. Again, we talked about this yesterday. The wind is not going to be that crazy, but you probably do get some snow showers. I think it's more of a grind because of these two teams and this matchup. But let's go Bills -6.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting we're sitting here talking about Von Miller on divisional weekend for the Bills.
Still got it.
This is
he just never goes away, does he?
Super Bowl MVP. Super Bowl MVP, Von Miller.
The guy is an assassin on and off the field. I think he's a real cultural point. I've watched some of his stuff. I think he's a real smart guy, and I respect Von. But it's interesting we're talking about that on a suddenly not so casual Sharp Sunday, January the 23rd, 2023. And, when you really start to go through this game, I don't know what to make of this game, and that's why I don't have an official on this game. And I think that the big standout narrative point for me here is, when will Buffalo turn up? And they haven't all year. And I opened the segment here with that, but it's just been lackluster. And, I've made this comment, this cross-referencing point a few times. They remind me of the Chiefs. But, the ironic point here, and maybe the disrespectful point, is Buffalo, you guys haven't won a title yet, guys. You guys, why are you coasting? Why are you so cool? Josh Allen throwing picks in the red zone like it's freaking – getting McDonald's fries here. It's the most convenient thing on the street, and it's been really, really unprofessional, and I'm honestly annoyed by it. And I back these guys emotionally. I put it on broadcast week after week, and I don't know what's going on. I think it's a mentality shift. I think that they somehow in their mind got a little bit bigger than they are on the field, and it's really showcased by what they've been doing at home. And I was going through it earlier, and I want to talk about it just for half a second. Their home games this year have been largely unimpressive, and it's mostly centered on their calendar. They haven't really played anybody good. They were supposed to play good teams, but this is the NFL in 2023. The supposedly good teams this year were not that good. And you go back through a bunch of these games: Jets, Miami twice, including the playoffs, Cleveland, Minnesota, which was a team that people thought was great, obviously didn't even make it out of the first round of the playoffs. Green Bay, who people thought was great because people, hold on to Aaron Rodgers of yesteryear, didn't even make the playoffs. Pittsburgh and Tennessee. You go to the other side of this, Cincinnati has been highly impressive on the road. They're 7-2 ATS. They're 4-0 ATS last 4. And those covers have been very, very impressive. I intended to write it down. Oh, I did write it down. Cincinnati covers on the road. New England, impressive. Tampa Bay, somewhat impressive. Tennessee, Pittsburgh, a divisional revenge game, impressive. A lot of people I know had Pittsburgh in that game, and they lost that game. New Orleans, a tough out on the road in the Dome. And the Jets, back when the Jets were slightly more impressive early season. So I think if you really look at this from a dead out analytical perspective, Cincinnati is a far better road team than Buffalo is a home team ATS. But again, the elusive one-off nature to playoff football exists. And I think Buffalo might have a second level they haven't shown all year because, to finalize this comment, they've been unprofessional and they think they're so freaking good. Guys, it's your time. You're that damn good. Show us what you have today. And, of course, the gun and odds fellow with the officials here at -4.5, -6. Second game. This game for me is going to be a must watch. This is a historical revenge rivalry game from the 80s and the 90s. I remember growing up as a kid. When the Niners and the Cowboys got together, you sat on your couch, you watched John Madden, Pat Summerall calling the game. Now you're listening to Sharky Waters Nation. 9 words of fucking lifestyle. Ride the way we get out of the water. We got Guns picks on an official. I'll throw it to the gun for a few comments, and then I'll jump off the cap.
A little inside baseball here. When I was a kid, like 8 or 9 years old, I loved Joe Montana so much. I was actually a 49ers fan, but I loved him because I loved Notre Dame so much, and he was like the best Notre Dame player of all time. But yeah, I remember these games so much. They were so fun. So, I mean, Bill Walsh, like Tom Rathman, and like everybody that was just on that team, Jerry Rice and Taylor. Oh my God. It was just a beautiful thing, not to mention what the Dallas Cowboys were back then. But this is going to be a really close game here, folks. I got Dallas at +4 because my vision of this game is this is a 3-point game. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I think with these two defenses, they really line up real well. If you actually look at the DVOA, these teams are virtually identical as far as how good they are. I think there's a little bit of an edge for the 49ers, but this Dallas defense is not something that you can sleep on. I think the key to this game, especially for the Dallas side here, is you have to be able to stop Christian McCaffrey. Since they've gotten him into the lineup, this team has averaged over 5 yards per carry. And in the last, I think it was 7 or 8 games straight. It's unbelievable how much they're doing with the running game. So a lot of people and a lot of the narrative for the ESPN guys or whoever are telling you that Brock Purdy, he threw 3 touchdowns. He had so many yards. It's more predicated on the fact that Christian McCaffrey was just gashing them on the run. And when you have everybody stepping up to stop the run, guess what you do? Play action pass. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. He's a system quarterback. He's no different than Jimmy G, in my opinion. If it actually comes down to him with the ball, having to pass, I think this is going to be a bad game for the 49ers. So the key to this game to me is if they can actually hold off Christian McCaffrey and gashing them on the run, I think this Cowboys team could win this game outright. So that's kind of the situation I'm looking at here. I did get it up +4. And the reason, like I said, the reason I think this is going to be a really close game, I think it's going to be a low scoring game too. So I do lean the under on this one. And I think Dallas actually covers this spread, whether it's on one side or the other. I think this is a 3-point game all day. So give me Dallas +4, and that's a 3-unit play for me too.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is my only official of this Sunday, and we are on Dallas +4, 1 unit. And we see you guys in the chat. Drop your comments, your leans, your angles in your conversation. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Octagon. Niners blowout. Don't be fooled. And I will say this. Don't be fooled by the Niners dub 10 against a fraudulent schedule. And I say this all the time. You have to look into details. You can't look at blanket data. And what is blanket data? Dub 10. Easy, blowout, this and that. Who have the Niners beaten in this sequence? the Rams, the Chargers, Arizona twice, New Orleans, Miami, Tampa Bay, Washington, and Las Vegas. There's not one legitimate representative second-round quality opponent, let alone first-round quality, in my opinion, in that entire sequence. And you start to go through Dallas here. Dallas has incredible motivation in this game. Last year, it was January 16th. It was at Jerry World. A 12-5 Dallas team came in there and lost outright to Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners, a Niners team that did go to the NFC title game last year. And you look at that game, Dallas came out flat. They tried to backdoor it. The final play of the game was, again, irresponsible, if we're going to keep using that word. They couldn't get the spot. They couldn't get the playoff, the whole thing. But you better believe this is peak professional football motivation. This team remembers that moment. And it was a one-off play in their home stadium. Now they get to go on the road against this team, again, who is running an incredible clean sheet. And you look at what happened since Dak Prescott came back from an injury, going back to week 7. Dallas is 9-3 straight up. And I think their schedule is far more impressive than what I just discussed with the Niners. 3 losses at Green Bay, a game they were up 14 points in the second half and melted, let it stand for itself. A game at Jacksonville, which is a tough out, a team that made it to the second round of the playoffs, 40-33, walked off in overtime. A game I should mention we did have correctly that day with Jacksonville, so we know when to buy and we know when to sell Dallas. And a Week 18 loss to Washington, a game they didn't even care. But if you really start to go through their wins, some very impressive stuff here. Blowout win against Detroit. People didn't think Detroit was very good. I'll say it. Detroit is far better than people think, and they have a huge upside going forward next season and beyond. A blowout of Minnesota, 40-3 on the road. People thought Minnesota was, just an incredible supposed Super Bowl running team. No, sir. And very impressive stuff against the Giants at home. A blowout, turned down cover backdoor on, I believe it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, and a cover at home against Philadelphia as well, 40-34. So this team has played far more representative competition. Their losses were games they were in control of and maybe lost their focus in the second half. I don't think that happens today. This is potentially the last game of the season. You're not going to lose your focus in the second half here. We're looking at this officially. Dallas Cowboys +4 1 unit. Anthony Latino, the hat, the fandom, the conversation, and another official.
So sweaty. But yeah, I definitely lean Cowboys here if you can get it above the field goal. I also think it's a great teaser option going forward, to get over 10 there and a little bit closer to 2 touchdowns. Statistically, this is such a fun game to watch. The 90s nostalgia, the 80s nostalgia, such a fun game to watch. DVOA-wise, these teams are a great matchup. The one thing I wanted to mention is the Purdy thing. I think, there's matchup pieces on both sides of this of where teams can exploit. At the end of the day, and this was heading into this season, first-time playoff quarterbacks, first non-first time. And again, Purdy has now checked this box because he did get the win. But coming in, they were 16-34 straight up and 14-35-1 against the spread. Last week on the Saturday games, I think we had 2 matchups featuring debuts only, so they kind of canceled itself out. And then on the Sunday spots, these guys went 1-1 straight up and 2-0 against the spread. So it was trending better, and Purdy was one of those. But I do think the experience matters. I think the defense matters. So, at the end of the day, that's what the Cowboys have to hang their hat on. They have to get to Purdy. They have to stop the run, like Guns alluded to. The one thing that worries me a little bit is Javon Curse, safety, a little bit banged up. But health-wise, they've gotten a lot better, a lot healthier on the defensive side of the ball. Leighton Vander Esch, Dorian Armstrong, a couple other guys coming back along that defensive front. All of that should help against the run. The Curse news at safety, he's questionable right now. So we'll definitely see. Should be a great game. I also lean over a little bit. Again, I think when, Vegas sets numbers, the narrative seems too easy. I think the under was 2-0 yesterday. Everyone's going to be talking about defense. These 2 offenses and the coaches could exploit and get on a little bit of a run here. So lean over, lean Cowboys. And I love the officials for my guys.
Yeah, and I think just as a final point in this game, when you really look at this in a generational window, this is the best opportunity that Dallas has had to get to the Super Bowl since the mid-90s. And it's crazy. It's been 27 years, I believe, or longer.
2007 was the only other one when the G-Men rolled through and killed the number 1 seed, 13-3 Cowboys, but that was it.
Yeah, and I'm not a Cowboys fan, and I don't really have a fandom, to be perfectly honest, because when you sports handicap, you lose your fandom a long time ago. But I think this Dallas team is really just right where they need to be from a focus point to win this game outright. And one final point, and I'm referencing the chat again. Comment: who has the number one defense? Again, details. If Guns, myself, and Anthony Latino played defense against the Pee Wee All Stars, we would be the best defense.
Don't forget, by the way, just on that point, don't forget Dallas has a good defense too. I think they're ranked 3rd overall in DVOA. It's not like
I think it's 1 and 2. I think they're 1 and 2 overall.
So
yeah.
everybody says, "Oh, the number one defense."
Yeah,
I was like,
Buffalo's
Dallas
4. I forget who 3 is. Buffalo's 4. But
also, look at strength of schedule. Dallas is faced the 3rd toughest schedule in the NFL. Okay, not the 49ers here, folks. So their defense is ranked number 2 going against the 3rd toughest schedule. So keep that in mind. It doesn't matter about the rankings. It matters about the schedule.
Precisely. It's all about details. And the details lead us to Dallas +4, 1 unit official, and alignment across the board. And that's it. That's the show. January 23rd, 2023. It is Divisional Sunday. It is an opportunity to dominate. It is Sharky Waters Nation 9 words, a lifestyle ride the way we got to water. We appreciate you guys in the chat, sending you guys the best vibes. We love the conversation. We love the debate. And it is really the best of times here, the very beginning of our journey through this millionaire lifestyle we're creating. And wrapping up on that, going to have a couple beers here. A beautiful Sunday afternoon. Guns Picks, a pleasure. Odds Fella, a pleasure as always. And drop likes and retweets, guys. Spread the abundance, spread the wellness and the awareness and the prosperity with us. Guns Picks, close them out with some words, and let's dominate.
43 of you beautiful bastards watched us live. If you haven't hit the like and the subscribe button, please do that now and help this channel grow. We are going to be putting out a lot of content here in 2023. So please stick with us. We are the sharpest group on the planet, and we are going to prove that to you as we go along in 2023. So I appreciate the comments, appreciate the likes, appreciate all you guys joining us live here on this beautiful Sunday morning. And we'll see you next time, next Saturday. I think next Saturday. No, next Sunday, because we'll have the conference championships then. And we will be giving you the top plays in that game. So good luck with your bets, everybody. Let's cash some tickets. And as always, let's keep dancing.